Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to our new English topic, Balanced Discussions. Today's objective is to understand the key features of a balanced discussion. Today we're going to read a piece of text and then we're going to look at the key features and see if we can identify just what makes a really good balanced discussion. So we're going to look at some controversial issues, and the first one that we're going to look at is zoos. Now, what do we mean by the word controversial? Well, controversial is something that we see as being a real talking point, something that gets people split, one on one side, one on the other. So there are lots of different controversial issues, and we're going to think about those a lot in this next unit of work. So zoos, prisons or sanctuaries. So what do we mean by a sanctuary? I think we all know what a prison is. A prison is somewhere where you're locked up, where you've taken away all your rights and privileges because you've done something wrong. But what is a sanctuary? Well, a sanctuary is a safe haven. It's a place where you can relax, where it's a fantastic place to be. This is the introduction to our piece of writing. In 1867, a popular entertainer sang, "Walking in the zoo is the okay thing to do." But 100 years later, this view is widely disputed. Now there is growing controversy over keeping wild animals in zoos. So what do we mean by this? Well, we mean that at one point going to the zoo was the right thing to do. It was a great thing to do. But now it's got people thinking, are zoos great places for the animals? Although we get a lot of pleasure from zoos, are zoos the right place to keep wild animals? Cruel confinement. Notice here we've got a subheading. And it's also a question. It's a rhetorical question. So that's a question that we don't want you to answer because the article is going to answer this question for us. Also notice that the author uses cruel confinement. It's alliteration, 2 C's. Many people believe that depriving wild animals of their natural freedom is cruel. They see zoos as prisons where animals suffer from stress, frustration, and boredom. Other people argue, however, that wild animals are not free, even in their natural environment. They live in defined areas where they face constant danger from hostile neighbours and humans. Far from restricting freedom, zoos provide sanctuaries in which animals can live and breed in peace. Notice here that we've started with the opener, many people believe. A balanced discussion uses lots of different openers such as this. Another one in this text is other people argue. I'm going to try and highlight it here for you. In every good zoo, the animal does not feel a prisoner, says Professor Hedinger of Zurich Zoo. As in the wild, it is more like a tenant or owner of a piece of land. Notice here that we've got a quote, and we've got a quote from a professor. So having a quote from a professor tells us that this is somebody that we should really be listening to. But not all zoos are good zoos, it seems. There are many complaints about standards of safety and care in both zoos and safari parks. Stephen Ormerod of the RSPCA says that many zoo owners are ignorant of their animal needs. So what do we notice so far about this piece of text? Well, I'm noticing that it's giving one side of the argument and then they're giving the other side of the argument. So they're giving all the fors and then they're giving the against. And it's going for, against, all the way through this first paragraph. Larger zoos argue that every effort is made to meet the animal's needs. They enjoy a regular, well-balanced diet, constant shelter, and are safe from predators. Educational role. Notice again, we have another subheading here and a rhetorical question. Zoos and safari parks are often accused of using animals for amusement and for profit. But many people insist that good zoos provide much more than entertainment. They offer a unique opportunity to learn about wildlife, and visitors can study animals at a closer range. Opponents, however, question the educational values of zoos where animals are seen as dependent on humans. So if we notice here, we've got yet another opener. Opponents, however. So we have for zoos and then we have against zoos. And having the for and against like this shows us that it is balanced. Saving endangered species. Many animals are in danger of extinction in their natural habitat, and zoos says that the animals they breed in captivity can be released back into the wild. However, critics argue that so far only 5 species have been saved from extinction in this way. Notice the kind of language that we're using here. Look at the words like extinction, natural habitat, captivity, species. We're using these words because it is giving you all the key facts. It's giving you the specific scientific vocabulary, and that's really, really important when we are writing balanced discussions, that you use the correct technical vocabulary. Again, it's showing 2 different sides to the argument, and the linking word here is however. Another thing to think about when we're reading this piece of text is the use of formal language. If we go back, you can see that all the language is in that posh voice. Opponents, however, where animals are seen, often accused. If you have a little look through the text again, you don't see any contractions or shortened words. This piece of text was adapted from Zoos, Prisons or Sanctuaries, from Debates the Use and Abuse of Animals by Zoe Watson. So let's think about how we should structure a balanced discussion. First of all, your discussion must have a title. This needs to be a simple statement or a question to draw attention to the issue. Next, we have an introduction. This is a short opening explaining how the issue came about. So in the Zoos text, it's talking about a day out at the zoo is the right thing, it was the okay thing to do. Okay, and it's giving you a little bit of background information about zoos and how it has become a controversial issue. In this introduction, though, do not put any of your own views or opinions in there. It doesn't matter what you think about zoos at the moment, you are not to give your opinion. Then we're going to look at points 4. So start this section with a word like firstly. Write your first point in favour of the argument, but do not put your own point of view yet. You could have another point 4. Next, using the word secondly or in addition to this, but again, don't give your opinion just yet. Another point 4. So you could have also or in addition to, and you can begin your final point in favour of the argument. Try to give evidence to support the point if you can, and that is where in the zoo text they've given a professor's opinion, because the professor is somebody that we would really listen to and we would respect their opinion. Then we're going to move on to points against. So begin with however. Put your first point against the argument, but again, don't put your own point of view here. You could have another point against, using the words such as in addition, also, furthermore. You could have another one, but this time it's going to be your last point, so you can use the word finally. But again, don't give your opinion. And then we have a conclusion. So you could start your conclusion with something like in conclusion, or to sum up the arguments. And at last, yes, you can give your own views if you wish, and you conclude either in favour of or against the issue. So if you really think zoos are a good idea, you can say it in this final paragraph. But if you wish to challenge the reader so that they can make up their own mind, you could even finish with a question. So let's think of some success criteria so far for a balanced discussion. Title, really important. I like to be a little bit posh with my titles. I like to have a word such as zoos and then put a colon in there and then maybe have 2 words. Okay, school uniform, colon. And then have 2 words, whether it's for or against. Introduction. We need paragraphs for and against, and it must be balanced. So that means it must have equal points for, equal points against. If it is not balanced, we call this biased. And then we can use connectives to link our paragraphs together. So they were the things like on the one hand, on the other hand, however, some people say. Try to write in that formal tone. So what that means is write in that posh voice. Try not to use slang words. Try not to use contractions. And only include your opinion in the final paragraph. That is so important. Otherwise, it is not a balanced discussion. And that's it for today. So you now have some activities to do, which are on our website. And I will see you soon.